Did Pluto get any snacks with yesterday?
No.
No.
To me, spare ribs just not worth the time eating.
Spare ribs?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think you're probably in good company.
Smoke them,
But those are some
flavor your
impressive,
beans.
that's some impressive looking bacon.
That's some nice bacon.
Yes, it is. Very nice looking bacon.
That's what we do it for, right?
Yeah.
The bacon.
And all the cartilage and everything. Luscious goodness in there.
You have to have very sharp knives, obviously.
Yeah, this one
To
is
really-
just so sharp, it's almost a problem.
Catching in the bones, yeah.
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 Yeah, it sure is. And I'm being very judicious, not leaving anything behind. Because Alex made it very clear
Over and over again.
why we're doing what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
We've been seeing it for months too on his
It's all about
YouTube.
the bacon.
That's next year's BLTs right there.
Right.
In the bacon.
No, not next year.
Guys,
You'll have
chops.
these in the spring.
That's right.
That's next
Give up
year's
the spare ribs
BLT.
for that.
Uh-huh.
Winter.
That's right.
It'd be winter eggs and bacon.
There you go.
So,
Yeah, that's still a nice set of ribs.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I'm guessing you could, like,
absolutely.
if you wanted a few spare ribs, like at the big end or the little end, you could cut it. You-
Oh,
Be more
yeah,
generous
no,
with the
this is,
ribs.
this
Yeah,
is-
if you-
none of this is waste.
Right.
This is
No, but I
all
was just
still
saying-
a good rack of ribs.
But if you
I
still
like-
want more generous meat on the ribs, you could sacrifice either end of your bacon or
yeah,
Instead, like, you
all
didn't
of
have
it-
to take the whole thing. You could, if you wanted, like, just a half of that as fatter spare ribs,
Yeah,
you just
right.
cut it a little deeper for that.
correct.
section.
So
You also get to that up here too.
yes, there's
Okay.
also more ribs where you'll end up with legit meaty ribs right
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
Like it's awesome.
Or for the
I
next,
like
the
it.
next half of your pig, you could do differently too.
Right.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. So you'll see, like, even though it looks like I took more meat here than I did over here, this is all rib meat. You know, so there's
Yep.
no belly was sacrificed in the making of this. Yeah, so we have our spare ribs. And you can see a little bit better now the cartilage tips now that I've kind of exposed them. But they run kind of laterally against the ribs.
And they stop the ribs from poking us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They cover the ends.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure they serve some function besides being a pain to carve out. So the next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and take off the front trotter and hock. And there are many different uses for a trotter and a hock. Today, this trotter that I'm about to cut off is going to go in that pot.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Pretty full.
Oh, is it?
We can
That
fit in
full?
a trotter or two, yeah.
Are you guys familiar with collagen? Like if we talk about collagen, do you know what we're talking about? Yes, yes, maybe.
It's
maybe.
good for your skin.
Yeah, yeah. It's good for everything. Yeah. So it is a.
It is your skin.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah,
In some ways.
I could probably do it half justice speaking to its like medical or health benefits, but instead we just tell people like if you care about cooking, then you want collagen. Like collagen is it's gonna thicken and enrich anything that you make. So why would I put this pig foot in that pot of water? It's
Must be
because
full of collagen.
it's loaded with collagen, and that pot of water will in no time become this thick broth instead of just a soup, right?
When you get a real broth,
It
it gets
thickens.
like tacky on your lips.
It thickens everything.
Yeah.
So you probably see me. I'm not explaining what I'm doing. I'm just working this. I'm working it back and forth. It's stiffened overnight, which we want, but I'm about to cut it hopefully at the joint. And to do that, I like to fold it a few times, make everything nice and limber, so that when I go to cut it, it opens wide, right up for me. Not bad. So one way to do that is to feel with your fingertips, just like I did with the cartilage tips. Like you stick your finger in there and you feel where the joint is. Another, Andy likes to tell people, there are two joints and he cuts just directly in the middle of them. Either one works, whatever works for you, but there's a pretty sophisticated little joint in here that you can find.
He's cutting your wrist, or the pig's wrist.
No, I'm
So
not.
if you bend your wrist, it's got two places where it bends. you cut right between those,
Mhm.
that's where it opens up.
It's a great place to destroy a knife edge. Yes. So I am trying to take my time just because I don't want to destroy my knife edge. But that's it. It fits together like a knuckle. And that's a trotter. We cut that off now because whether it's the hock or the trotter, it's much easier cutting those things off when it's attached to a big heavy anchor, right? If it were already separated, I'd have to be holding this while Andy's trying to hold that, and it just becomes really complicated. You want to do a trotter or a hock next, and then picnic from Boston?
Yeah.
We cut through everything that isn't bone with our knife, and then we cut through what is bone with our saw. We often will do this number where we hold it off the edge of the table, keeping a lot of the weight up here. It just allows us to manipulate things a little bit easier and use gravity on our side. Oh man, I'm almost connected. So this is kind of fun. We'll get to use the bone dust scraper for the first time today.
Oh yeah, we can try Al's new one.
Yeah. So this is a hawk. This is gorgeous, right? This is, and it's worth saying that we'll do just a cursory glance of anatomy here. Oh, this is bone dust scraper. This one we brought, that one's Owl's. I'll do this one I'll use on the hawk, and that one I'll use on the shoulder to see how we go. This guy, while bone dust is perfectly edible, it's kind of unsightly, and if you can get it nice and clean and feel like it's a little bit more of a professional, legit, less of a DIY in my garage sort of job, then why not? It's a simple little tool, and it does a really great job. Look at that, just what it's supposed to do.
How's that one work?
Just fine, as advertised. Look at that. Yeah, but just a 2-minute discourse on anatomy. I mentioned that the loin doesn't do a lot of work because it just kind of hangs out up here. The toughest muscles on the whole animal are going to be the locomotive muscles, the ones that are actually moving this several 100-pound beast around all the time. The shoulder and the ham in particular, only the difference is the ham is tough and lean, and the shoulder is tough and fatty, which is why the shoulder is delicious, and that's why you would want to use it for like a pulled pork. It can just break down all the connective tissue and fat, break down and flavor it, and make it delicious. So the ham, Andy and I are not huge fans of ham because if you know anything about ham, you almost never get it fresh. You will almost never see a fresh ham roast or a fresh ham cut. It is almost always brined, and then after it's brined, it's either smoked or it's drenched in maple syrup or brown sugar or honey, or it's something to make it palatable. You know, the ham is not, it does not lend itself to hot fast cooking or low slow cooking or even moist cooking. It is just a tough, lean cut. So there are traditions that cure it, brine it, smoke it, all kinds of things to add flavor to it. Whereas the shoulder, for example, it has a lot of connective tissue and fat. The connective tissue, if you were to cook that hot and fast, you wouldn't be able to eat it. It would be so tough, your teeth wouldn't be able to break it down. But when you cook it low and slow over moist heat, all the connective tissue breaks down, creating this really, really unctuous, moist, juicy, flavorful meat. Interestingly though, the closer you get to the ground, you got your big muscle roots up here. But then the closer you get down to the ground on any quadruped, the more ligaments and tendons and connective tissue and sinew you'll have. Not a lot of meat. There's not a lot of meat down here or down here. But because of those other things I mentioned, all of which are really rich in collagen, they are loaded with flavor. They just need to be cooked properly.
You guys heard of eating high on the hog? Eating high on the hog is where the loin and all the tender cuts are. Low on the hog, you have to cook longer and they're tougher if you don't do it correctly.
And chances are, the lower on the hogs, they're more likely, like soup or beans are going to be for dinner, because that's how you best utilize those cuts. So, if you're the plantation owner, this is probably where you're going to be eating. Everybody else, they get the trotter and hock and
Or chitlins.
chitlins.
And they don't even eat the meat of the hog.
Yeah. That's not to say that those things can't be made delicious. If you've ever cooked a pot of beans without a smoked hock, and then a pot of beans with a smoked hock, there is a night and day difference. Favorite designated cut of the animal, because this has nothing to do with Boston, and it has nothing to do with the butt. And this doesn't really have any hams in it, and there's nothing in it I would want to take to a picnic.
It's interesting, we're near Boston.
The butt is
It's never
actually
happened.
the barrel that it was.
Does anyone know the origin of the term Boston butt?
Yes, they
The
stored them
butt,
in.
the butt is the cask that they were packed in.
Yeah, they were stored in.
They were stored
Fish on
and
a
shipped
ship.
in a
They were
cask
called the
that's
butt?
called the butt.
Hmm.
There you go. So
I'll
we've
buy
never been
that.
close enough to Boston for someone to give us an answer.
There you go. Finally, now I know.
No offense to anyone, I'm things I've heard.
Just repeating something I heard yesterday.
It's the literal pork barrel.
Uh-huh, yeah, right, right.
You really, yeah.
Okay, so I just made a cut without talking about it, but the idea now is to separate my picnic ham from my Boston butt. The way we do that, just like I went to this vertebrae here, or the end of the sternum here, I just go to the belly of the spine here, and I make one straight cut across, and end up with a picnic and a Boston. So please, this is a little bit of a tricky one because, thank you, sir. This I cut here with my knife because there's nothing but meat, and then I cut here with my saw because there's nothing but bone, and then I get through meat under that, and then I get to the shoulder blade, so I have to get the bone, saw back out.
You want to hand somebody hold?
I got it, thank you, because I can do that. Nope. So I'm going to finish down to the scapula with my knife. I'm going to take that down to the table. Alright, and then of course I have to get the saw back out to cut through the shoulder blade. Which is the scapula. But you guys probably do that. Thank you.
Shelves, it's right there on the metal
Yeah.
shelves.
Get our bone dust scrapers out. Come up both sides, just because it's nice. It's hard enough when Gina pulls these out of the freezer to cook them, knowing that they were raised and killed and butchered right here. It takes a little bit of a getting used to, like trusting yourself, trusting that you're doing this well, trusting that even though this is a project you're taking on, like you're doing it as well or even better than if it were done commercially. And this is just one step in that direction, right? Like you don't want to see a bunch of bloodshot stuff when you pull it out of the freezer. You don't want to see bone dust stuff. You want to know, like, no, this was done well. And this simple little tool helps that out usually. This guy right here, the picnic, is where you're going to get those crazy meaty ribs that we were referring to. They're often referred to as country-style ribs. I don't know the origin of that either, though I can guess that it just has something to do with the fact that they're just meaty and they belong on the plates of corn-fed country boys. I don't know. But there is this really great facial plane right here. You can see that. I'll turn it off early. I mean, look at that. That meat just wants to come off right there and stay with the ribs, right? And it's really, really easy to do. I'm going to get a little bit of tissue here. you heard us say a number of times yesterday, today should not be a messy day. It shouldn't be bloody. There is some stick wounds here in the shoulder that need addressed, and then there'll be a little bit of blood back in the femur. Otherwise, it's not that gory of an afternoon. When it is, we like to clean it up immediately because now that we're moving into the stage of food production and preparation, blood is a pathway for pathogens. So we just do our best to make sure that whatever blood we have, we just dab it and toss the towel. This doesn't happen often, but it happened already in that one jowl. This pig obviously, I think I can say that quite safely in this group, this pig obviously experienced no stress or anxiety during the time of its death. But it does not matter. Every once in a while we find these deposits like Andy found, or I don't know who was, Jonathan, maybe Anthony, cutting a jowl and you just saw that deposit inside the plane there. That happens every once in a while, and we don't know the cause of that, but the other place that we'll see it is right here, and it's happened a number of times. We don't know why there happens to be this. I mean, it could just be from the stick, or it could be from a shard of lead or a bone fragment or something, but that all gets trimmed up, right? So this is your country style rack of ribs. Lots of meat on these ribs. We'll clean out that little bit of fascia, and they'll be wonderful. Yeah, these would be spectacular. That'll require some trimming. If there's a place to do that on this cutting board, that would be dynamite. Okay, so now we have our Boston butt, our picnic with the country ribs removed, our loin, which is still perfectly intact, our spare ribs, our belly, and our ham. At this point, everything, again, so far has been totally standard fare. Nothing, I haven't even had to ask, like, so what's the destination of this pork? All right, what did you want done with this? Because everything we've done so far would probably be done anyway, you know. Now we get to a place where we need to talk about, is this going to be bone-in or boneless shoulder roasts, right? Is this going to be bone-in or boneless chops? Like now you begin to start talking about what it is your family needs out of this animal. We continue to cut, and more and more and more and more meat just keeps piling up everywhere. So if you can have more than one table or station, or you have somebody trained to wrap, so that as pieces leave, they go straight to the wrapping station, which we'll show you that. Yeah, we'll have all that demonstrated. But what Andy's proposing is we take a couple of these cuts and we move them out to the table out there, and then for like trimming stuff, so that you don't necessarily have to feel like you're missing anything, and the rest can be worked on here for demo stuff.
Well, we have 4 halves, so
Yeah, there'll be
if we miss something here,
lots of
always-
cutting. So let's do that.